Well, if you were going to tell the story of your life at La Jolla UMC, without telling us the story, but if you were going to tell that story, what would the title of that story be?
Yeah, I struggled with this one. I think something with family in it, because it does really feel like this church is my family. Church family and just the people have really made this church home for me. When we were visiting UCSD, when just visiting colleges, my parents brought me here because I was like, this is the closest United Methodist Church, must find it. And we loved it. It was so beautiful. We walked around the campus. And then I actually went to UCSD with two of my hometown church friends. And so we went and visited this church and some other UMCs in the area. And this was the one we found the most welcoming. So I came back. Yeah, I love that the United Methodist Church is connected and I forget the word, but where we have a bunch of churches everywhere in the world and all over the US, and just that sense of connection. I love that. And then this church, it's really about the people. I'm going to say that a lot, but the connections that I've made here and the friendships, it's been so important to me and helpful throughout my life and for my family too. The opportunities for service are wonderful, and the opportunities just for small groups, I found that really helpful. Especially I think for my husband, Mark, like that just keeps us coming back and wanting to come back. We want to see our friends. We want to talk to everyone we know, and we want to be at church with them and experience God together. It's important when you take advantage of a service, and this church provides us a service, that you pay for that service. And we sit in the pews and we use the facilities and we benefit from that. And so I feel it's important to help pay for that. But the other part is more like giving is a spiritual discipline for us. I remember when I was a kid, we had friends who brought us this jar, and you've probably heard this story before, but it's a jar full of walnuts and rice. And there was a little card attached, and it said the walnuts represent what God wants to do in the world, and the rice represents what you want to do in the world. And if you try to put the rice in first and then the walnuts, they won't both fit. But if you put in the walnuts first and then the rice, everything fits. And I always remember that. It stuck with me. So giving for me is like taking care of the walnuts, doing what God wants, and then everything else will fit. We're trying to get to tithing. We want to give 10% of our income. But that feels really daunting, right? So I've always appreciated this church has done like a staircase, like here's where you're at, here's what the next step might look like, and you can go a few steps up if you want, but like I try to at least do one step. It's not even a question for me. I'm like, where's my next step? Go to the next step, because if it's not at tithing yet, I want to get there. So that's helpful for me to be like, okay, this is where I should go. This is where I can stretch. Giving I think of it as a spiritual discipline, just one of those things like fasting or praying or going to church every Sunday. It's something that we do, and it reminds us about God and to put God first. And I think it does that for my family too. Like if Warren ever asks me, why are we giving to church? They'll say, because church helps us and it helps people, and that's important to our family. So I remember when I joined this church, my sister had actually heard about La Jolla, and its reputation was that it was so big into mission, like per capita it spent the most on mission, or something about just how much it gave to service per capita for the number of people in this church. And I was so inspired by that, and I was like, yes, I'm going to that church. So I would love to feel that again and be a part of that. And I would also love to see just this is a little selfish, but for Warren, I want the children and youth ministries to just flourish. So that's where I'd like it to be.